Okay, we're live. Let's see. I'll just jump. I don't know. I
Right.
think the intro is not very interesting, so I'll just jump in. Um. Okay, so we are live with the Solutions Edge podcast. We're talking about chess with a focus on improvement. I'm here with Ono, who's a chess coach, a chess player, someone who's made a lot of strides as an adult. Starting the game. I don't know if you totally started as an adult, but certainly taking chess seriously as an adult for sure. Um. Great writer, someone who has really unique voice, which I would say is kind of rare in chess, but someone who's very funny and has a distinctive voice. Um, yeah, and someone who has a lot of experience working with, something which is probably neglected in the chess world, which is like players who are maybe under 1,000, maybe under 1,200, but are still really wanting to get better. Um, so yeah, oh no, welcome. How are you doing?
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, life is good. I had my best ever win on Wednesday over the board, so I'm still in a good mood. Hopefully keep me going for at least another few days.
Oh wow, okay. Well, tell us about that. You know, who was it? What are we
Right.
talking about here?
Yeah, less impressive, I think. But I defeated the chess champion of Barn. I guess I'm now naming them publicly. But yeah, their rating's about I think it's about 1950, a
Well, hey,
little
that's
bit
pretty
higher
good.
than that. So
Hey,
that was a nice scalp for me.
Barn?
Barn. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong because the Dutch I can never get right, like barn or
But that's
barn, and
like
I can never get it right.
a town or a region.
Yeah, it's just like a little Dutch place. It's funny actually because last year I was playing for one of our higher teams, but I had a bit of a rough internal season. Ended up
Mhm.
in a lower team, but I'm on a higher board for that team, so I've actually ended up with much higher rated opponents because a lot of these little clubs have one good player, and I end
Yeah.
up playing them.
The,
So,
the
you
big
know,
fish in a small pond, but you have to take them on. So was it
for sure. Yeah, yeah.
was it a swindle? Was it wire to wire domination? I mean, what happened?
It's a weird game actually. It was really dry position, which if anyone knows me and my chess is pretty normal.
Yeah, you just took
Um,
stride to the
and
what's that guy's name? The grandmaster that you follow?
Keith Arkell,
Yes, the Keith
yeah,
Arkell School of Chess.
just
Yeah,
read this book and that's it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you saying you played a few Blitz games against him, and it
What
was just
I
it
beat
was the
him in
most
Blitz in
boring
a Rook
experience of your
Endgame.
life.
So I was like, "Suck it, Arkell. Rook Endgame. Let's go."
Yeah, that's one for the bucket list, right? Arkel and the weekend game.
Um, but okay, well, so congrats on the win. Let's talk about first, what do you think of how do you feel about the term adult improver? It's like some people like it, some people don't. It's like it has a bit of a weird ring to it. What do you think?
Hang on, Nate. So sorry. I know we're live, but I've managed to turn my headphones
Oh,
off. Give me a
okay.
second.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Still can't hear anything.
Good? Yeah? No?
Nope.
Okay.
Let me
Oh,
just put it on the phone again and see if
okay.
there's no echo. Yeah, I can hear you again now.
Okay. Yeah, so I was just asking, what do you think of the term or the title adult improver itself? It's like that's something we say a lot. To me, it sounds a little bit weird. I don't know if I can put my finger on why. Is that is that a term that you would you self describe, or would you call your students adult improvers, or would you use a different term?
No, yeah, I mean, I quite like it. But I've definitely heard people say that they prefer the term adult enjoyer because they're
Okay.
not really looking to get better. They just go into the club as their hobby or whatever. And I think there's a place for that, and that's fine. But I don't know. A lot of the joy in chess for me is the I don't know if joy is the right word, but is the struggle.
Yeah, the grind.
Of
You know,
maybe.
the people who say they're adult enjoyers, do you think they're being honest? I mean, clearly some of them are sure, but I find there's like maybe an element of defensiveness from some players where if they were really really honest, they do want to get better, but maybe they've struggled to achieve that improvement, and it's a little bit of like, oh well, I don't actually want it anyway. I don't know if that squares with your experience.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I, I mean, I suppose some people, I definitely, I think in the zeitgeist that we're in online, I think that people want to be improvers. But definitely, like within my chess club, there's definitely a lot of older people that definitely just go. They want to drink a beer, play a game of
Mhm.
chess. They don't really care about the result. They're just there for the social
Yeah,
aspect.
yeah,
And
for
I
sure. I
think
can
there's a
imagine
place
that.
for that. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I can imagine, the over the board in the club metagame being very different than what people are talking about on like X or Substack or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry, Nate. Again, the internet's really bad. I don't
Oh,
really
no
know what's
worries.
happening here.
You're not back
A little
in
bit.
in your
Um,
farm, are you?
you would think, right? Um, really sorry to interrupt. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm
Yeah,
going to
no
try and
problem.
sort this out a bit.
Okay, no problem. And I see, we've got people trickling in anyway, so probably letting people have a little time to file in is not the worst thing in the world.
Sorry. Hopefully
Oh,
that's better. I think
okay, no worries,
trying to
no
get
worries.
everyone in the house off devices. But,
Hmm.
don't normally have problems, so let's hope that'll be okay now.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. So yeah, we were talking about improving or not. So I think you work with. Do you have a rating cutoff in terms of who you work with as a coach?
Yeah. I mean, my own over the board rating is like 1750 just now, peaking
Cool.
like just above 1800. So I think there's a kind of a cap there, but normally, I mean, my highest rated students just now are around 1600 on Lichess. So, and I think normally at around 1700 on Lichess, I tell people
Mhm.
to get
And that
into a
probably
coach because I think at
that.
that point it's good to get a different perspective.
And what do you think? Lee chess 1700. Do you think that's like 1200, 1300 FIDE? Like, how does that translate?
Does it translate? I'm not really sure, honestly. I used to say up to 1400 FIDE, but then of course they've changed the rating system now. So I
Oh
don't
yeah,
think you can actually
yeah.
be below 1400 FIDE
Well,
anymore.
they gave
Yeah,
everybody
so
points. Yeah,
change.
yeah. It's a little bit tricky how the different rating systems scale because it's like it's not only the y-intercept but also the slope that's different, so to speak. Um, but the 1700 Lee chess is certainly, I don't know exactly where it lines up, but certainly a lower number FIDE. Um, but by the way, this is something I really support. By the way, of like you don't have to be like a master or whatever to be a chess coach. And in fact, I think for players at that level, like the most effective coach probably is someone who's not quite as strong. Because like if you're 1200, not only do you not need a grandmaster, you probably don't really want a grandmaster because they're not going to be able to get on the level of like what you actually need to grapple with at that moment. Um, so yeah, I kind of wish more people would get into coaching, but it is, it's tough within the chess world of like establishing the credibility and like the prices people charge for coaching are so depressed to begin with. It's a tough challenge then. Um,
Yeah, I do think there can be an element. I mean, it's just different, you know. There's a lot of things that a master coach I think can tell you that obviously I can't because there's a deeper understanding of chess. But then there's also the relatability, which, I 5 years ago I had a 3-digit chess.com rating, you know? Uh,
mhm.
so uh, I I do understand the issues that they're going through that um I don't know, maybe there's something there. But yeah, I think, just like you didn't need to be a former ATP professional to teach tennis,
Mhm.
You know, you don't need to be a professional chess player to teach chess. And I think you're right. I think there's a lot of, I mean, especially now, obviously, there's just so many good amateur blogs like Dan Bock's blog and Nick has a blog. There's just Nick Vasquez. There's about three different Nicks, I think, in the
Yeah.
adult improver community now. And they've all got great things to say. You know, I learned so much from reading those guys' stuff. And Cameron as well, girls stuff, women's stuff. So you know, definitely I think scope for people to teach chess if they're not a master or even an expert like myself, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. So, and I mean, I know you've had tremendous results, with these players, like helping them really improve. So I had two sort of paired questions. One was, what is something that everyone does that is useless or at least overrated? And the flip side is, what is something that almost no one does that would be really useful? Speaking here about, training, practice, improvement.
Yeah, I mean, I think to start with, I think just generally before we get into the specifics of improvement, I think one thing that's very much overlooked, and it's part of the online zeitgeist as well, when, you know, with Ben's podcast and his adult improvers, you read and you hear about a lot of outliers, people who gained 400 points in 1 year. And I think it's important to recognize that that is uncommon. Most people
And by the way,
need to work
probably
really, really
probably
hard
heavily
to
influenced by
achieve it.
variance as well on a statistical level.
By what, sorry?
Variance or randomness, because if you look at the people, not to say that their contributions aren't valuable or it's not interesting to hear from those people, but if you go back and look at the people who have gone on perpetual chess for these massive short-term rating gains, and you look at what happened after that, almost always either plateau or regression. So, not to take away from that accomplishment, because invariably they have worked very hard, but when you see an outlier, like you're saying, there's usually a luck element. It's not like they've got some secret sauce that allows them to gain 400 points this year and another 400 points the next year. That pretty much never happens, right? So it's like they're doing the work, but they're also probably seeing some results that are in excess of what they could expect, even from the very good work that they're putting in.
No, definitely. Yeah. So I think it's important to address that you need to work really hard. And actually, I see Nick Vissel's username, or Nick Weissel, sorry, Nick, if I'm mispronouncing it, from back when people still use chess Twitter. And he posted a really nice graph recently. I think he hit 2000 on chess.com in some time control. But the graph he showed was a 10-year grind to get there. And I think
Mhm.
that is more normal. That people are sort of fighting to get 50 points a year on a good year. And so, yeah, I think before I talk about what I think works and what doesn't work, I think it's important to recognize that what does work is working really, really hard for a long time. Uh, you know, I think that will always net you results. But in terms of the specifics, to answer your question, I think I've definitely had students that have played more games than I have. Like, I look at their online accounts and they've played like 5,000 rapid games and haven't made almost any progress over that time. And so I would say the thing that nobody talks about that is useless is actually just playing games without analyzing them.
Oh
Because
yeah,
you're just
this
going
is
to make the
super
same
interesting
mistakes
because
over and over again playing.
sorry to interrupt you, but um that's so interesting because I often I'm often urging people to play more, but please go ahead. I mean, I think there's clearly some nuance here, so please go ahead.
Yeah, it's really so I think specifically for adults, I think Jesse Cry is talking about like I think someone was telling me he was on a podcast where he was maybe coming around to the idea that you should play a lot of blitz and maybe it did help. But at least with my students, I think if you teach someone a new concept, it is part of their conscious thought process. And if they're just playing 10-minute games and they've just learned about, I don't know, even if it's something simple like a good bishop and a bad bishop, 10 minutes is so quick that they can't stop until after the game and go, oh, I should. shouldn't have traded that bishop. That was my best piece, you know? Whereas
Mhm.
if you get them to play a 30 plus 20 game, they can actually think about the new knowledge that they've learned during the game and then apply it. And then that's why I always think with adults, well, especially with my students and at least with my own chess, if I have a rating jump, my classical rating goes up. And then maybe 3 months later, my rapid rating goes up. And
Oh,
then maybe
interesting.
3 months after that, my blitz rating follows. I think is the new things I'm learning sort of get put into my subconscious, and they're not just new things
Mm.
I know, they're now new things that I can do automatically without really thinking.
That's
Um,
that's a great point. That's
so
I hadn't thought of it before that it would cascade down the time control chain. That's very interesting, but it
yeah,
makes
and so
sense.
I think if you're playing a lot of 10-minute games or 5+3 games or whatever it is you're playing, and you're not looking at them, there's of course there's an element of board vision, maybe at the lower level where you're just recognizing that you're hanging less pieces. But I think that really has seriously diminishing returns as you get higher rated to just play volumes and volumes of quicker games.
I
Um,
think. What do you think about?
and then
Do you think like 15 plus 10 is that still too fast? I feel like you have to strike a balance between having enough time to think, but also like to me like a 30 plus 20 online game is so onerous from a time allocation perspective and on like just to be real with you, like I would never play such a slow online game. I just wouldn't do it. Um, but some people do and they enjoy it.
yeah, I think that's actually a really personal time control. I think I have just gotten to the level now where I can play a 5+3 blitz game and it doesn't look like a complete disaster. And I can apply some of the things I know at that time control, but honestly, like maybe 2 years ago, that time control was 10+5. And before then, it was even slower. So, you know, I think it depends on your level, but you'll know. Like if you're just hanging pieces and the game is
Mhm.
ridiculous, then the time control is too fast.
But do you think,
If you can
I do,
feel like you can play a semi decent game.
I was just going to say, I do wonder if even players who are not so strong, if they practice blitz, could learn to not hang pieces quickly and intuitively. Because my feeling is that playing safe moves quickly and without cognitive strain is absolutely necessary for all levels and all time controls of chess. Because if just avoiding hanging your pieces is very time consuming and effortful, it puts such a ceiling on how well you can play chess because you're draining your cognitive resources like at all times just not to hang your pieces. Um, so I feel like if there's any way, if practicing faster time controls can help you get past that, it could really be worth it. Not only to be a good blitz player, but to be a good classical player as well.
Yeah. Sorry, you were kind of cutting in and out there, but I think I think I've first of all fixed my internet problem, but second of all caught most of the gist of it.
Okay.
But yeah, I think um, yeah, find the time control where you feel like you can actually apply your knowledge for sure. That's
Mhm.
my important point. Yes.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, you don't want to play so fast that it feels like a clicking contest and it's just being decided by flagging. But I do think there's something to be said for pushing yourself to play faster than is comfortable and building up the skill, perhaps not to play a masterpiece at that time control, but to avoid hanging your pieces and gross blunders. Because, like, maybe here's maybe where I was cutting out. To be a good chess player at any level or any time control, you have to be able to play safe moves without thinking. Like, I think
Mm.
that's I would say that's sort of non negotiable at any time control. I don't, above, I don't know, like above like 1600 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and I've actually prescribed. It depends on the student, but I've prescribed people to play blitz as a training exercise where you're just trying to very quickly safety check moves. in a non-complicated way. So basically, you're just trying not to hang pieces to make one move
Yeah.
blunders.
And I can tell you something about, blitz, which is that actually, like, a lot of adult improvers get into chess because they want to have like a deep intellectual experience, which is cool,
Mm,
right? But winning at competitive chess or tournament chess is really not about that. It's overwhelmingly about not messing up. And, something people may be surprised to learn if, like, depending on the level you've played blitz at, um, but you can get to 2,500 or 2,600 blitz without having essentially any concept of chess strategy whatsoever, just by playing fast and not. I'm not exaggerating. This is literally true. Like, I encounter these guys all the time. No opening prep, no strategy whatsoever, but they play very fast and they don't hang pieces, and they see, like, 2 to 3 move tactics consistently. And these guys can be 24, 25, 2,600 blitz. You encounter this player type all the time. Um, if you're a purist, they're annoying to play against because you feel like they're not playing chess, but it's a very effective strategy. Now, if you take that and you put that person against Hikaru, they will lose a million games in a row. But but they'll beat a lot of other people.
sure. Yeah. No, I mean, maybe there's something to be said for it. Honestly, I don't really know how much I can say about it. I think if, like a lot of adults, if you look at my ratings, at least in terms of the bell curve, the slower the time control, the higher up the bell curve I am.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and I think that's partly because I I don't know if this is true for all adults or if it's just my observations, but the skill gap with adults, at least people who started as adults, I think I can partly cover up by just the volume of things I've learned. So
Hmm.
in a classical game of chess, I can really apply my knowledge. Whereas in a blitz game, the blunders are more, it doesn't really matter if I play a positional masterpiece in a 3+2 game because ultimately someone's going to hang a piece in
Hmm.
time to
Exactly.
scramble. But
Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't really matter.
for sure. So let's see. I don't. I think we kind of have got onto a bunch of interesting stuff. But did we? Trying to remember. Did we touch on, like, most overrated and most underrated, like, study technique or
Sure,
activity?
yeah. All I said was the most overrated was playing high volumes of games, but I caveat that by saying, if you don't analyze them, they can be useless. But actually, the opposite, I would say, um is the most useful thing people can do is play slow games and actually analyze them. And really being honest, I think is super important. And maybe I use an example. I managed to play one of the worst games I think feeling wise I've ever had. I guess a month ago, I uh, I was in a Queen Anne game. We'd been playing for a long time, about 5.5 hours, I think. And my opponent blundered, and I could trade queens into winning king and pawn endgame. And so I spent 15 of my remaining 20 minutes double checking that the king and pawn endgame was winning, traded queens, and then played the second move of the
Mhm.
winning king and pawn line first, sort of inexplicably, and um, and I ended up losing the game. Actually, I resigned in a drawn position because I was so upset with myself. So it was a total disaster. But it would be very easy for me to look at that and go, well, my brain just malfunctioned, right? I knew that F3 check G5 was running piece. I learned in my soul. And I played G5. But I really spent a lot of time thinking about why did I play G5 before I played F3 check? But what happened? And I came up with a few things. One of them was that, okay, G5 was where the line branched, right? That's where he had options. And so before I traded queens, all my calculation was focused from that point forward. So I was somewhat hyper focused on it. But if I'm really, really honest, I was about to win my closing man. And everyone's looking at the board, and I know that this king pawn endgame is winning, right? I'm already like writing the victory tweet before I finish the game. And I think my ego is really like setting in there. And if you fast forward to my game on Wednesday where I had this really good win. Um, I knew I was winning, but I had moved to end the game. But I stopped and I said, right, I'm not gonna play this move for 3 minutes. That's the rule. Like I can see it right there. It's just me. But I'm gonna wait because I don't want the same thing to happen where I let my ego get in the way. So I think the most useful thing is look at the worst moves, the moves that are so easy to dismiss. Is just, I often hear students say, "Oh, and then I just hung a knight and the game was over." So like,
Yeah.
there's no problem. No, I say no. This is the most important one to look at, right? It's like you have a knight. Like what? What were you thinking about? Let's really like dive in at that moment and be super introspective about it and try and find out um, yeah, exactly. Like, what's going on?
I'm gonna try to walk a look. Someone is talking near me. Sorry. Yeah, I was planning to get home and do this, but I didn't quite make it, so I'm at outside. So hopefully this is helpful. Yeah, totally agree. And I think there's a balance where you encounter two sorts of people quite often. One is the people who are very defensive. So for every mistake they have, there's some sort of excuse or like deflection of why it wasn't a real mistake or they wouldn't do it again or something. Right. So that's the one type of person you encounter. But then sometimes you also encounter people who do it the other way, who are like the self-flagellators who really love to beat themselves up. So it's two sides of the same coin. It's sort of minimizing the mistake or maximizing it and actually using it to beat themselves up and like making it worse than it was. So, I think it's really important. Like if you were saying with honesty, it's really important to be in the middle to have a sort of like clear-eyed vision. Um, but even more so in the middle to have like a sense of curiosity and like I call it like a detective mindset of like, if you really want to get better at chess, if you think about it, it's like these mistakes are your best evidence and your best opportunity to get to the bottom of what you actually need to do. So like if you can actually embrace that mindset sincerely, then looking at those moments starts, it's no longer threatening or scary. It's like exciting. And you're like, oh, like that's why that happened. That's really interesting. And oh, it was actually, and then you realize, oh, under the surface, it was actually the exact same thing as the previous two mistakes I made. Like it was the same thought process, right? And that becomes exciting. A lot of people are blocked from getting to that because, um, they're so defensive or they beat themselves up so much one way or the other that like they never get to the level of just thinking like somewhat dispassionately of like well, what is actually going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of people have it backwards with with the type of mistakes to look at. And again, to use the more oversimplistic example of the good and bad bishop. But if I have a student that, let's say, gives away their good bishop, and that's a mistake, but they've got no idea what a good bishop is. That's not really a mistake because you couldn't have possibly avoided that without the knowledge,
Yeah.
without the chess knowledge behind it,
But
right? It's
yeah,
kind of like
I'd,
saying,
I'd, I'd say it's a knowledge mistake, but probably more important for most people are like execution mistakes or like psychological mistakes.
right, because you can learn those things, right? You come to your
Mm.
chess lesson or you pick up the next chess book, you'll learn that. It's kind of like saying, "Oh, I'm really bad at Spanish," when you don't know a single word of Spanish. You're not bad at Spanish, you just don't know Spanish.
Mhm.
There's a
Yeah.
complete difference there. And but yeah, the mistakes you already know are mistakes are the easiest ones to dismiss and say, "Well, I already knew that." But actually, they're the only ones you can avoid. So, with your current understanding, so you need to sort of dive into them, I guess.
All right,
That would be my answer. Analyze your worst moves that you already know are a mistake.
yeah. Yeah, and with an eye towards underlying causes, right? Like really like asking why quite sincerely.
Yeah, and that's a very personal question. And
Mhm.
you can't. There are no chess books about that. Yeah,
Here's
there because there's
here,
no chess books on you playing chess.
here's a question. I this one wasn't on my outline. I just thought of this, but this is actually an interesting one to me. Um, so the question is, why is it hard to get better at chess? And I want to make the case that it should be easy to get better at chess. So hear me out. Um, there's this psychologist who draws this distinction between wicked problems and kind problems. So a kind problem is one where the rules are explicit and they don't change, and you know how well you're doing. And a wicked problem is one where none of that's true. You don't know the rules are constantly changing. It may be hard to even tell if you're doing a good job, right? So chess is like the quintessential example of a problem. I forgot this guy's name, but I think he even uses chess as an example. So seemingly all of these things should be tremendous assets to you in your quest to get better, right? Like the task of becoming a chess player is much more straightforward than like the task of becoming, let's say, a good partner in your marriage, right? Which is like very the rules aren't explicit. They may be changing. You may not really know what good performance looks like, right?
Sure.
So seemingly chess should be easier. But yet we all know that in practice, getting better at chess is actually very hard. From you know, with the exception, maybe someone who's very young or very talented who's just starting their journey, it's pretty easy. But generally for most people, making meaningful progress on chess is quite hard. So why? Like why?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very multifaceted. I think that's one of the problems that you can spend, for example, last season, I spent the entire season working on my openings.
Oh yeah, that
And
was crazy.
I, yeah, and I went to the, like, speaking of like the hard work you need to put in, I went to the library maybe 3 or 4 days a week while my wife's putting my kid to bed and sat there for an hour and a half, building out this repertoire and making sure I really understood everything. And at the end of the year, my rating did not go up at all. In fact, it's the first year my rating has not gone up. So that maybe, you know, you shouldn't study openings. Maybe that has
I did,
some,
I have to
but
remind me to show you like my openings process because I actually can use opening preparation to crush people, but
mhm.
I'm sort of a professional openings researcher, I guess you could say, or at least I have these chessboard courses. So it's like it may be like a little bit of a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, I got a lot better at chess that year. And also I laid this foundation, right? Because now I'm getting into the same positions every game because I picked them and I like those positions. And so although I've got this repertoire and I spent a year getting it, I'm probably not going to see, I'm starting to see the value in that now because every classical game, I know I'm getting the positions I like. I'm getting into these positions that I want and picked. And only now I'm starting to practice them. So I think, and even if you study king and pawn games for 2 months, you have to recognize you did get better at chess. Did your rating go up? Almost certainly not. Like, how many king and pawn games did you get into last month? You know?
Yeah,
So
and
I think
by the
there's an
so
element of that.
Don is saying kind and wicked theory is from Robin Hogarth. So thank you, Don.
Okay.
Yeah, but sorry, go ahead.
Head on. Play out to Dawn. Yeah. Uh, Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, is I know I got better at chess last year, but my rating didn't go up. And I think you need to recognize that those are two different things. You can get better at chess without your rating going up. It's just
Well,
so multifaceted that sometimes,
there is
yeah,
actually a pretty well known thing like in learning theory of when you learn a new concept, your performance may get worse. That like this is something that's well known not only in chess because it's like you go from a certain kind of order to when you learn something new, disorder, like you break that apart, and then you have to establish a new order. So it is quite expected to actually see a plateau or even a decrease in performance when you learn something new.
definitely. I think because you're hyper focused on it, it takes a while for that knowledge to fade into the
Yeah,
background, and you're not just spending every position looking at the one thing you just studied.
yeah, and yeah, like you said, you might be sort of over. You might be trying to apply it in every position when it actually has no relevance because you're so excited to like look at this new thing, and it's like, well, there's a lot of things going on in chess all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot when I tell students about like what color square to put their pawns on when they have different minor piece configurations. And then for about 2 weeks afterwards, they're like, "Hey, I got a I got a light colored bishop, so I'm putting all my pawns in dark squares." And you're like, "Completely irrelevant here, but okay."
Yeah. So you're
You know,
you're literally
the
in
only thing.
checkmate. You're in checkmate right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I played, yeah.
All right. Well,
So
so
it's a hard game. I mean, yeah.
what are the next steps with your chess? Like, what are you working on now? Where so you did this sort of opening project. What's the next step?
Yeah, I think I need to stop reproducing and get more time. But no, seriously, I think the the next step is now for me, I feel like I'm getting a lot of really good positions. This year, I keep losing games where I'm like +3, but with even material. I just I don't think I have a good intuition of what to do when I already have a
Hmm.
really good
So
position and I sit
you're
on
like
it for too long.
positionally dominating, but you're not up material.
Yeah, I mean, I know way too much for my level, and I think there's a definite, compared to my rating peers, I think my positional understanding is higher, but I don't know if it's calculation or tactics, or if it's just not understanding how to transform those positions into wins. Like, I think I need the chessable course, how to win when every move is +4. Like, because that's what I feel like right now.
Wait, well, but
It's very
how
frustrating.
how can you lose when every book move is plus 4?
Yeah, look at my games, Nate. You'll find out.
Okay. Is it is it
Yeah.
time trouble? Are you getting low on the clock?
No, it's not time trouble. Yeah, I don't know. I actually, for funny as a chess coach, I'm considering getting coaching for the first time because I spoke to Dan Balk about this a while ago, and I didn't believe him, but now I do believe him. He's like, it's pretty rare that I open a chess book and I learn something new now, and that's not like an arrogant thing that he's saying. It's just that at a certain point, I mean, you open a strategy book in chess, the contents pages are all identical. Like they're all about the exact same things, just with different examples. And so learning more about chess is not really helping me at this point, I think. And so maybe it's a skill gap also. It could just be
Mhm.
making tactical
Well, I would
mistakes.
definitely I would strongly recommend coaching to any. I mean, if you can afford it, obviously the money is the thing. But like, whenever I say this, people are like, "Oh, you're selling your coaching." And like, I'm not. I actually just stopped offering one-on-one coaching altogether. So I'm definitely not selling my coaching. But I would say all experience and evidence points to the absolutely insane effectiveness of one-on-one coaching. So if that is something that is within your means, and you're serious about getting better at chess, I mean, honestly, I would say you'd kind of be crazy not to do it. And that's something I apply. Like, I would apply that to like, like I'm thinking about like reinvesting in my YouTube channel. Like, if I'm serious about that, I should get a YouTube coach. Um, like just like one-on-one coaching is such it accelerates everything. The only tricky part is like one-on-one coaching with the right person, like someone who's a good fit for you and who actually knows what they're talking about. Which it can be tricky to find that person sometimes. Um, but if you can find that person, there are very few things that will like accelerate your improvement more than that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's important as well in a coach to find someone you connect with as well. Obviously, they should be a good teacher, but yeah, I think it's important to have that because chess is so personal and it's so brutal. I think you need to have someone that you're connecting with on the right level, so that they're understanding where you're at with it emotionally as well, because such a huge factor in chess as well. You lose a few games in a row and your confidence is low. It's that's like minus 200 elo right there.
Mhm. Yeah,
It's a tough game.
for sure. All right, you know what? My phone is getting low on battery, so maybe we can do a few questions and then kind of call it a day. Any
Sure.
questions in the chat for Ono or for me, I suppose, or for both of us? See if give
Yeah, I
people a
think it
moment
was
to type.
actually. I don't think I can scroll up in the chat, but there were questions earlier that I missed.
Someone said, "Would you learn more from one game of 5 plus 3, or from one 15 plus 10, or three 5 plus 3?" I think that was more of like a hypothetical question. Uh, but I am.
Yeah, there's
I will
also
say so I'm in the middle. I'm currently running this month-long challenge where the challenge is to play 100 games of Blitz in a month, and there's other details to it of like having sort of a purposeful process. But I am a believer in Blitz. You know, I think Blitz is like one of your most powerful tools for improvement. Actually, I think the chess community has quite a like puritanical strain to it, where if something is fun or if it seems to be relatively modern, like a big segment of the chess community is like very distrustful of it. So that applies to like Blitz, it applies to engines, it applies to YouTube. I think all of these things are like tremendous improvement tools, and like sure they can be abused, but like so can anything, right? So I think like learning to use these tools effectively is definitely important.
yeah. I think I'm yeah, I'm sure you're right, and I still think that if you're if you're able to apply your reasonable chess, 5 plus 3, then yeah, play 5 plus 3 games instead of one.
Oh, sorry, you just kind of faded out a little bit, or maybe it's because someone is driving by with like speakers.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was just saying, if you can extract volume from your own chess at that time control, then yeah, go for it. I think then volume beats uh the slower time control and what you would get out of it. But I guess it also depends what you're trying to train as well.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it's on my end or your end. All of a sudden, I can't hear you.
Oh, can people hear me in the chat? Is it me? I didn't change anything. Maybe, yeah.
All right. Well, maybe my phone is about to die, so it's probably a good time to wrap up anyway.
Okay.
Um,
You still can't hear me.
yeah, I can't hear. So anyway, well, oh no, thank you. Um, I'm gonna wrap it up.
All right. All right. People are saying they could hear, but I think Nate's gone. So I don't know if it's still live. If it was, goodbye.